The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
It's been 2 long years since I can't even bring myself to say his name did what he did. Defile my sister, Tamar. Oh, I've been waiting for this. The plan is almost together. I just need Father to sign off on them coming to this feast. Hopefully this goes well. King!
My son, what brings you here?
Kindly note, your servant has sheep shearers. Please, if it pleases the king, let you, the king, and all of your servants go with your servant.
This is a big time of year for you, but I'm afraid I can't, son. We shouldn't all go. Trust me, it will just be too much for you to host all of the royal guests at one time, you know what I'm saying?
That's a bummer, but if you don't want to come, can Ammon at least go with us?
This is a bit interesting because why Ammon? Like, why him specifically?
You know, I think it's good for all of us brothers just to get along. And it's been a while since we've all been together, so I think this would be a good time to get everyone under the same roof, catch up, have some good drinks, have a good merry time. So I just think it's a good family bonding experience. Like, what do you think?
Well, you can't argue with that, huh? And I'm sorry I can't go, but I will give you my blessings. And as for Amnon, I think it will be acceptable if he goes along as well.
He doesn't even know what's about to happen next.
Last week we discussed Ammon and the vile acts he committed against his sister Tamar. This week we are discussing the after effect of this vile act, and we are picking right back where we left off in 2 Samuel 13 verse 23. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. My name is Earl Roberts. I really should change this from saying a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. And that's Nakhaz. I kind of cut him off this time. My bad. Good. Oh my, man. I have too much colors in this screen. But hopefully it's not distracting anyone out there. So last week, we delved into Ammon and Tamar, the grievous sin that was committed between a half-siblings. Ammon raped Tamar, no sugarcoating it there. We really talked about that. We got into it. And just showed how when you operate in the flesh, how things can go awry, astray, and go downhill very, very quickly, expeditiously, as some would say. And we ended off last chapter really talking about David's inaction. We ended up talking about, just how bad it is to operate in the flesh. And so we are still in 2 Samuel 13, but we kind of just necessarily cut that chapter short, so we broke it up into 2 episodes. It's been a long time since we broke up one chapter into 2 episodes. So, this really shows how much we had to talk about. So that's a blessing. Hopefully you guys got something from the episode, commented and all that kind of stuff, and probably we responded to some of those. And yeah, we are continuing the same. We're continuing that chapter. We're going to get more into, some of the ramifications that started to outpour from that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're going this week. Weekly thought. I don't really have one on the top of my head right now, honestly.
Well, I don't have a weekly thought, and this is. I have a thought. I had a thought about the podcast.
Go for it.
My objective is to be either informational or inspirational. You know what I mean? Like, so every time we get on this podcast and we speak, if this is something that you already know, like this story you could be familiar with, you could have studied the story front to back, you know all of the details. So we ain't teaching you new information, but if that doesn't apply to the listeners, I want this to inspire someone in some type of way. I have my boy, man, like he hit me up a couple of weeks back, and he was like, this is like 12 a.m. He hit me up, but he was in the gym and he was listening to the podcast. Oh, and he gave me a word, you know what I'm saying? And this was an episode that we had recorded like let's say 2-3 months ago, so it wasn't as fresh on my mind, And he was hitting me with points, and I was just like, man, that's so beautiful that you were able to tap into the Bible in a different gear because you listen to just people like you and I just having this dialogue. You know what I'm saying? And now you giving me game. So you inspiring me with some concepts and ideas that I didn't even see, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think that's beautiful. And we don't have the biggest reach, by the grace of God, you still grow it, you know what I'm saying? But we don't have like it's people who do DIY stuff and all type of stuff. They have way bigger platforms than us, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that people are being touched or people are learning, you know what I'm saying? I just think that's a blessing. So I would encourage people to also be informational or inspirational when it comes to spreading Christianity.
And that's the concept for iron sharpening iron. I don't know why say ironing, but it's the concept of iron sharpening iron. I mean, you got something from listening to something or inspired by something you share with someone else, and they like, oh yeah, go, that's awesome. Like, here's a new perspective from the same thing you just shared. You get like more invigorated, and then personally you're invigorated, and then you guys go to other people with the same joy and exuberation, just kind of like sharing the gospel of God or whatever else you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But like that's the whole concept of that, so it just takes a little spark, like. It only takes a spark to get a fire going. We sing that song so much. It only takes a spark, man. It only takes a spark.
That's true.
Oh man, that was a fresh song, bro. It's crazy. The songs we grew up with that you don't really sing anymore. And man, like one thing, like in my like journey now that I'm starting to appreciate is the words of songs, man. The lyrics, actually having meanings, and like what this song is really trying to convey. And like growing up, you sing these songs, they're all cute and whatnot. And you seen them in song service. Like we both went to BA for part of high school. Correct me, I finished at BA, but like kind of part of it was like song service every morning. And you're going through singing as the Dare, We Are Soldiers, but that's a funny one in retrospect. I Am a Promise. My Smile a While.
It was some big songs we used to sing though. I ain't gonna lie, like,
right.
And I feel like I ain't talking about music all day, all night. I feel like in this day and age, music is more so geared on feelings, not lyrics. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? People might assume that I'm the lyrics guy, like it have to have lyrics, but I feel like it have to have some type of quality that brings me to a song. And sometimes it's if I only could enjoy music that was good lyrically, I would just go crazy because like a lot of times I don't really be too impressed, but it's the feeling. You understand what I'm saying? It's the feeling, and I think that transcends. It transcends genres. That ain't even a deep dive. It definitely transcends genres. But that's why music is also such an important tool, which can be used for God or for the enemy. Music, bro, like people say, the devil's a chief musician, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and then they talk about the Illuminati and music, all that good stuff. But the thing that is, I feel like most definite about music is that it gives you a feeling that words can't explain. You can listen to someone play the piano and you can be close to tears. Why? You don't even know what the song talking about, but it's the feeling that carry with music. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's such a important part to to worship. That's why it's so important to worship, bro. Like you expressing yourself in a way that's just pure feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like you just praising God. And that's another form of inspiration, in my opinion. Like you listen to a good concert, you listen to Brooklyn Tabernacle, bro. I be close to tears. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how much I am inspired, by the feeling of music. But I feel like I step on your point because I feel like you was going somewhere.
I don't even remember no more, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, like all in all, worship and praise and worship's the next thing, but like we talked about that in our Thanksgiving. We talked about that like in our Thanksgiving episode, the one we did, because I don't think last Thanksgiving we ran that back. It was like,
I can't see myself continuing to do Thanksgiving episodes, bro. In my opinion, like, I feel like I know.
Has God not been good? Has God not been good, Nakhaz?
He definitely has. He definitely has. But I'm talking about from a scriptural outline. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too much things that I could say without being repetitive. And like, at least we have 4 gospels, so we could always talk about Jesus
Christmas.
dying. No, yeah, Christmas. No. Basically, Easter. No, I'm sorry.
The resurrection.
The resurrection, like not Easter. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Oh,
Easter.
No.
What is Easter?
You don't celebrate those things, but you don't use those terminology. Just kidding. But I'm talking about see Jesus born in or being born. No, I wasn't even say born. Let's get to the story, bro. We're on a tangent. We're on a tangent.
All right. 2 Samuel. We are picking up in verse 23. And again, just set the stage, and I went over this at the beginning, but we ended in 21 where we see David was angry and heard of all these things when Ammon, sleeping with his sister Tamar. And Absalom spoke to his brother Ammon, either good or bad, for Absalom hated Ammon because of what he had forced sister Tamar to do. And it's so interesting because we see Absalom ain't bring it up, but we see him just letting it fester. As we want to get into. So in verse 23, it came to pass after 2 full years.
He's playing a long game.
2 full years, bro.
Yeah.
I just want to set this in, like, the Bible says, vengeance mine, saith the Lord. And this is why. So now you have this hate that just stirring up in your heart. You come up with a master plan for 2 whole years, man. 2 whole years. And we see that Absalom has sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is near the city of Ephraim. So Absalom invited all the king's sons. And if we remember from David's time of trouble, right, when it was like
Nabal
and Abigail, right? When during sheep sharing time, when you sharing the sheep, there's a big festival that's happening because no money about to be made. It's a time of festivities. So naturally, this time we see Absalom have sheep shearers. One could surmise that this is the time that this is happening where he's throwing a big feast. So he's the oldest son. So he invited all the king's sons.
Is Absalom the oldest son?
No, my bad. Ammon's the oldest son. My bad. Yeah. But Absalom, he threw a feast and he invited all his brothers. So Absalom came to the king and said, kindly note, your servant has sheep shearers. Please let the king and the servants go with your servant. But the king said to Absalom, no, my son, let us not all go now, lest we be a burden to you. Then he urged him, but he would not go, and he blessed him. Then Absalom said, if not, please let my brother Amnon go with us. The king said to him, why should he go with you? But Absalom urged him, so he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. Do you think David had a feeling something was up?
I think so because like I try to adjust for the times. Like I try to put myself in these situations, right? But think about it, right? It is no secret that Tamar had been defiled. She can't dress with the colorful stuff the way she used to be able to dress. Like she can't promote herself as a virgin anymore. That's by law. And she had sackcloth and ashes on her head. She was mourning, bro. And this your full sister, Absalom I'm talking about, that's his full sister. So obviously he would have known. Now it's the fact if he cared or not that is in question because David might be like, you don't care. But I don't see why you wouldn't care if your sister had been the fire. Like we see how Levi and Simeon, how they cared. You understand what I'm saying? They was ready to kill, just straight up, just like that, And so David probably saying, there should be smoke between y'all. So why are you even inviting him? You know what I mean? Like you trying to be messy or you trying to be problematic. But if Absalom this whole time had concealed his true feelings, then it could be reasonable that he's just inviting all of his family. But off the strength that you know what he had done and everybody know, it's like, why? Like what's going on here, bro? Like what's your plan?
And still also what it shows me is like 2 years have passed and David still ain't do not one thing about what happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Not one thing, bro. Not one thing. Like,
man.
And part of me started to feel like, bro, David, you started to be complicit in some of this stuff. You sent
Tamar.
You sent Tamar. Now you're realizing like, oh yeah, something's up, but you know what?
Yeah. I still let it go.
Just go for it. Yeah, kids.
Yeah. See, because I feel like, I can't think of the proper analogy for this, right? But it's not illegal to invite your siblings to sheep shearings, and it's not abnormal either. You know what I'm saying? Now, one would question the timing of all of this. Like, why are you so cool to invite him right now? You know what I mean? But Absalom might be saying, I'm being politically correct, and because I invited most of my brothers, I'm going to invite all of my brothers. That way, you can't say I was being standoffish or nothing like that. So, and he still is my brother, no matter what. If you forgive him, all right, I can look past it too, So David probably saying, well, on paper, he's not doing anything wrong by inviting him. But I think David considered what this could possibly lead to, and he was trying to hope for the best. So he's still allowed that. But then, guess what, right? If David had stopped Absalom from coming, David would have been picking favorites. Like he really protecting Absalom. That's a grown man, bro. Amnon, I'm sorry. I keep these A names, bro. They keep confusing me.
Yeah.
But so if David had stopped Absalom from inviting Amnon, who is the person who committed the crime, it would be like David going out of his way to protect a rapist. And why are you protecting a rapist from nothing? It's just a dinner, bro. It's just a party. What the rapist can't party no more. You afraid of him to be around me? What I do? I ain't do nothing. So I feel like on paper, David had to allow this to happen, or else it would look even worse on David.
One thing I'm supposed to point out last episode too is how Amnon again was the oldest child, but even though it's implied, we didn't specifically say it, but Amnon was really and truly next in line to be the king of Israel, just based off of heredity and how it typically works in kingdoms. Firstborn son, you're the next king by default.
Yep.
And so essentially, Amnon was the crown prince as the terminology is used for the prince who was next in line. And so it kind of just paints one how messed up it was, why he was really under attack from the devil to faulty up. Naturally, his father was under attack, naturally, as we saw, but we see Amnon that's why there's so much pressure on Amnon as well. And kind of what even adds another layer of it just being even more messed up. So now, where were we? We were in.
I think that we was on 26 or 27. We just finished.
Yeah.
26, yeah.
And then, but Absalom urged him, and so we let Ammon and all the king's sons go with him. Now, Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, watch now. When Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say to you, strike him, then kill him. Do not be afraid, have I not commanded you? Be courageous and valiant.
I think that's a popular phrase. Because David just told us to his army when they were about to go fight the Ammonites. And then, God shared similar sentiments multiple times to Joshua when he was about to go when he was becoming the leader of the Israelites. Be strong and courageous. You can see that in Deuteronomy and in 1st, I think, and 2nd Joshua. Those sentiments be courteous and valiant. And then they'd say stuff like, "Have I not commanded you?" Like when God was talking to Gideon when he was like, "Mighty warrior," you know what I'm saying? "Go out, have I not commanded you?" Like you got my support, you know what I mean? So that's that sentiment we could see Absalom is sharing to his men.
So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and each one got on his mule and fled. So I mean, so now like what's so interesting now is like, okay, I imagine Amnon when there with his guard up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro, even though you ain't bringing up in the last 2 years, really and truly, we ain't really talked that much in the last 2 years. I know what I did. You know what I did. Because it's more your sister than mine, even though it was my sister too. This is like, your full sister is my half sister. You know what I did. And plus, we all know she living with you.
But these people could have been siblings, but they might not have had a relationship with each other, bro. Like, they could have been, I could have grew up in my household, my mother, and never see y'all, bro. We could have barely ever see each other for real, unless the king bring us all together, which could have been once or twice a year. We might have never developed a true kinship, between each other.
Exactly. And that's probably why, Absalom even went to David first and let all my brothers come over.
Right.
Like, I need
guess
your
what?
blessing.
Right. You got to set this up because, we ain't as strong as family. Potentially, that could be the possibility. But as the crown prince, I like how you put it that way. So that made me realize that Absalom couldn't have just gone and killed. Absalom had to come up with a plan to kill Amnon.
That's probably why it take 2 years.
Yeah, and that's why it take 2 years. Because if he'd have come at him one-on-one, Absalom probably didn't have the resources to fight against David. And then he probably would have looked like the big criminal. You know what I mean? Now, granted, he could look like a big criminal now, regardless, because you killed the crown prince. You understand what I'm saying? But he had to set it up. But I feel like they hadn't seen each other for the past 2 years. And if Absalom at any time had tried to see Amnon would have been on top of his guard, But Amnon probably thought that, all right, I'm the big cheese. You know what I mean? All my brothers could be there. And this guy, he ain't as powerful as me. I am next, and I about to be the king in some years from now, bro. Like, probably like 20 years from now, I could be the king, bro. So you don't want to be on my bad side. You know what I mean? So he probably allowed those thoughts to say, yeah, this probably ain't a trap. He probably just trying to sever. He trying to keep good ties with me.
Yeah, but my thing too is like, even after he get there, he started drinking, so we let he got down.
Sure.
That's just really what it was. You see, I'm not saying, no, we ain't doing nothing, we ain't making no moves until we know he about 5 cups in.
Fox.
He nice.
Yeah,
he
nice.
Nothing no more. He done get comfortable. He done vulnerable. Man, y'all ain't do nothing when I first come. All right, cool. Everyone's still acting cool. Man, this a party. You start feeling like I still come here tripping, man. They ain't choosing violence.
They didn't even know what I do for real. Like they chilling. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody mad at me. They forgive me.
Exactly. Feeling all good. And I can imagine Absalom in the corner. Okay. He's stumbling a little bit. His words starting to slur a little bit now. All right, he's comfortable. Look at him. He don't even know what's coming.
Drink up.
He don't even know what's coming. And then so obviously Absalom said, gave the order, strike him. And he tell his man, hey, y'all ain't got nothing to be scared of. And the point, like, bro, y'all, we know what we about to do. We about to kill the crown prince. This ain't thing. Exactly. It's nothing to take lightly. And he's saying, bro, y'all ain't got nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Be courageous and valiant. My word. What's so interesting is, right after this happened, we see all other brothers was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I know. If you block, see, because think about it, bro. You remember the story in Judges, bro, when Absalom, what's his name? Absalom? No, what was his name?
I know what you mean. Gideon's son.
Was it Gideon's son? Yeah, he was one of Gideon's sons. Because remember, Gideon had like 50 sons, right?
Yeah.
So one of Gideon's sons. What was his name, bro? Abinadab?
Might have been. I can't remember right now. I gotta look it up, but keep going.
Right. So he jumped up one day, invite all his brothers, right? And he killed all of them. Boom. Is 50 at 49 brothers. He killed about 48 of them. Only one of them get to escape. I think Joab was the name of the one who escaped, or some of the J. But anyway, so they might have think to themselves, oh no, this man Absalom invite all of us here to kill us so he could usurp the throne, and there could be no other challenges as an heir to the throne, because
It was Abimelech.
Abimelech is some of the A man. These A words, they whipping my butt this episode. Like, I gotta keep up.
Yeah, but you continue.
Yeah. So they just get up and leave, like, bro. But then think about it, bro. Who trying to stick around for that? But hey, come on this business trip. Like, you remember one time me and you, we'd go on to like one what is it, Christmas Day? Is either Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, bro, and people get to fighting that day, and we was like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving. Yeah, we was like,
he's like, yeah, we out.
It's too much for us out. It's too much for us right now. He was like, yeah, thanks for the invite, but
yeah, the food was good. Thanks. I'm out. Yeah.
So for my curiosity, I just like Googled the order of the sons of David. So Ammon was first, as we established. Absalom was second, was third, third in line. Kiliab or Daniel was in between Amnon and Absalom.
Never even heard of these people.
Yeah, they are mentioned briefly in that one lineup before our time.
Yeah, your boy had a son named Daniel, bro. That's funny.
Exactly. And so they just packed up and left. So in verse 30, it came to pass while they were on their way that news came to David saying, Absalom has killed all the king's sons, and not one of them is left. Telephone game. It's funny how news get distorted. This reminds me of the Job story. Oh yeah, your sons and daughters having a party at your oldest son's house or something, and then I forget the order which things happened. It was like a storm or a twist or something came and just killed all of them.
Yeah, like I think it was a storm, and then the house collapsed on them.
On top of them, and only I escaped.
I was the only person who escaped to tell you. Oh man, see that story? We've been waiting on that story for a long job. It's funny, but it's sad, but it's funny too, though. You know what I mean? Like, but that book, that's a book, boy. That's a roller coaster of a book, in my opinion. Like, it's crazy. But anywho.
Exactly. And so now David, I think about, like, I bring that story to think about, like, bro, you just think about, you lose all your sons just now. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, hold on now, like, what's really just going on? All of them? So now you imagine, like, shoot, I shouldn't have, like, because now you have the guilt of, bro, I signed off on this.
Okay.
And this is what happened. And it's funny, like I said, none of them is left. So it's like, does this imply that Absalom committed suicide as well? Like, are you saying none left, not even Absalom? Like, what's happening? It's like a murder-suicide type thing. And so we see David arose and tore his garments, verse 31, and laid on the ground. And all his servants stood by with their clothes torn. Being a servant in that day was just so interesting to me because, like, you literally almost like a slave, but like, okay, yeah. Master tore his clothes, I guess. What do we do?
I tear my clothes.
Okay, I guess we just could tear it all. Like, we just could stand around and... Because the Bible's making it sound so funny. They just stood by with their clothes torn also. Like, we can sympathize with you, but, we ain't getting to the full extent, but we know we got to do this all for the strength that we are servants. For
sure, because I can't of it. Like, I'm happy that you lamenting. I got to show you I saw just like you.
Oh my!
But then you know what? They could have been sad for you though. Let's say one of your coworkers, right? You have a coworker, and their child is come to work from time to time. You know them, this and that. And third. If their child pass, you feel that still. You know what I mean? Like, man, I feel for you, bro. Like I know you all for real. Like, this ain't my family, but true. Like this, family member of someone who's close to me still. So
I feel it. So then in verse 32, a familiar face shows up. Then Jonadab, son of Shemiah, David's brother, answered and said, "Let not my lord suppose they have killed all the young men. The king's sons, for only Amnon is dead." How would how he feel saying that?
I wonder, bro, because like I reading this and I just like,
he was a snake.
Right. That's like saying like you using this for your political gain or you just relaying the information.
Like, where you come from? And for by the command of Absalom, this is being determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now, therefore, let not my lord the king take this thing to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for only Amnon is dead. And what get me is like you saying this thing like, oh yeah, like Absalom Ben had this makeup from the day Amnon do what he did. But I'm like, but you was the one who planted the seed in Amnon's head to do what he did. Now one could argue Amnon was going to find a way, right? But you was the one who.
Or one would argue that I didn't tell him to rape the girl. I just tell him to get. I just find a way for him to get around her. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the thing. Let me paraphrase. I internalize this text, and this is how I believe he said it in more modern terms. Like that, use King David. Hey King, I can be honest with you. First of all your sons ain't dead. Only Amnon is dead, and he signed his death notice the day he raped that girl, your daughter Tamar. So don't even hurt your head over this, bro, because this was really just vengeance, and this was planned from the day that Amnon killed your daughter, bro. That's just how it is, bro. Like, the man, it was bound to happen for real. So
yeah, like
might be a snake.
No, he was a snake from the beginning. From last episode, he was a snake.
Yeah.
Definitely a big snake. And it's interesting now because now it's like when David feels okay, yeah, the crown prince is dead. That's the reason to cry. Your oldest son is dead. I mean, the bond between, I guess, a father and a son, again, you're crying. You lost one of your children. You know what I'm saying? It hurts more that you lost one of your children by the hand of your other child. Right. So now it's like, can I protect you? But you kill him? Should I love you? Should I hate you? Like,
right. How I can react to Absalom now, who committed a crime against another one of my children.
Exactly. And then it's like the guilt of feeling like, man, I should have do something. From one, I should never send Tamar over there. Two, right. I should have do something to Amnon from when he was done. Because here's the thing, right? Even when it wasn't punishable by death, I mean, I just was like Googling while we was talking, right? Exodus 22, verse 16. If a man entices a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall surely pay the bride price for her to be his bride. I mean, to be his wife. If the father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay the money according to the bride price of virgins. Deuteronomy 22. If a man finds a woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the young woman's father 50 shekels, and she shall be his wife because he has humbled her. He shall not be permitted to divorce her in all of her days. So here's the thing. Even if you didn't want to go the Levitical route, you know what I'm saying? Exodus and Deuteronomy also tell you what else you could have done. You could have forced Amnon and Tamar to get married. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't do what you do. So again, you doing nothing, absolutely nothing, allowing Tamar to live in shame, just further emphasize Absalom's hatred towards you, but to Amnon, because you did nothing. You tried to literally like sweep it under the rug and be like, I gotta let bygones be bygones. I ain't doing nothing. But now you find yourself even in a more sad state. Like I don't know what else worse to use, but you just find yourself in a sad state because now your son killed your son. You're crying for your son. You don't know how to feel about your other son. Your daughter got raped. And this the whole, like, three of your children intertwined in this whole messed up cycle. Your nephew come here talking foolishness. Foolishness.
Nephew just adding fuel to the fire.
All this could have been avoided if you had done something, bro. Like, literally, you doing nothing, even though it made you feel better, literally complicated the situation by 10 times. Literally, if you had just done something, you could have put an end to some of the suffering.
Because even David married Bathsheba. He married her. You know what I mean?
He knew what he was supposed to do.
He knew what he was supposed to do. You know?
Man.
Like, it's just.
All right, that's why I feel so bad for Tamar, but what a burden, bro. What a burden you gotta carry.
And the thing is, but like, the funny thing about it is like Absalom killing Ammon, it's the part. This is why Jesus said, like, God said, vengeance is his, right? Because you killing Ammon, even though it might have made you feel better, bro, it did nothing for the situation at all.
No, but like killing people barely ever do anything for such a. But I always think with that. I like, bro, we feel like we can feel better if we get revenge. But it just can like it can leave us feeling empty, bro. Because now you don't even have no one to hate, bro. The boy still who you want hate, dead now. You understand what I'm saying? So like if you was to forgive him today, you can't get that clarity because he ain't alive no more, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like I had, but is this one dude? I had a friend. I talk about this a little bit on the bar one time. I had a friend. He was a close friend of mine. Like we used to play ball every day. We used to live in the neighborhood, and we end up fighting, like fist fighting. You feel me? And I really hurt our friendship. You know what I'm saying? And he passed away, bro. He passed away a couple months back, and I feel so bad because like. Granted, I had forgiven him. Me and him, we pieced it up, but we was never boys like that no more. But it made me feel bad that our friendship, where it end, that's the end of it. We ain't never could become closer friends. We ain't never could really unpack everything that happened when we was beefing and stuff like that. That's done. It's and everybody ain't as compassionate as the next person. You feel me? But truthfully, bro, I understand why God says it's me to get vengeance because God sees everything. God understands what magnitude this person need to be punished. You know what I'm saying? God understands what we need to be rehabilitated. You know what I'm saying? And it's what it is. But then at the same time, they was living during a time of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But the eye for an eye in this scenario, I don't think it would have been that, though. It would have been the bride price or them marrying your sister. But from a human perspective, I don't want my sister married to someone who hate her. You understand what I'm saying? That might be a life of more torture. You see what I'm saying? So Absalom take matters into his own hands in the thing that he felt was justice. And he ended up, murdering his brother.
Quite literally. So now in verse 34, then Absalom fled. And the young man who was keeping watch lifted his eyes and looked, and there many people were coming from the road on the hillside behind him. Then Jonadab said to the king, look, the king's sons are coming. As your servant said, so it is. So it was as soon as he had finished speaking that the king's sons indeed came, and they lifted up their voice and wept. Also the king and all his servants wept very bitterly. But Absalom fled and went to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Jeshur. So again, for context, we talked about this last episode, but the king of Jeshur was his mother's relatives. So essentially he went from Israel to, again, his
mommy side of the family.
His mommy side of the family. Because again, he was royalty in two different countries in kind of way. Like he was living with the big dogs in Israel, but I ain't that solid with them. I still royalty over here. Let me go over here.
Yep.
And so now David mourned for his son every day. And so Absalom fled and went to Jeshur and was there for 3 years. And King David longed to go to Absalom, for he had been comforted concerning Amnon because he was dead.
Okay.
And it's so interesting, like how that sentence just like reads, you know what I'm saying? Like, Amnon dead, I comforted, but again, use my son, I still will have this connection with you. And I long of you every day. Like, prodigal son, please come home.
Like it's so complicated. And I wish I was a parent because I would have a more tangible feeling, not really tangible, but I would have a more realistic connection to this story. But it's like, bro, this is still my son. You know what I mean? Like, and that go for everybody. So even though someone committed crime against you, they still sin against you. God, like, but it's still my son. I could punish them in the way that they deserve to be punished. You understand? I could deal with that. You feel me? But they're still my son, bro. I don't want you to commit a crime against my son because you was my son too. You see what I'm saying? Like, you feel me? Like, I could deal with this, bro, because you only racking up sins by getting revenge, by taking revenge on somebody else, right? And it's just so interesting because in the same way David didn't want Amnon to die, even though some people could make a strong argument that what he did was punishable by death. You could make a strong argument. David didn't want that to happen because at the end of the day, he loved his son. You know what I'm saying? He loved his son. And now Absalom committed crime. Now, eye for an eye. Absalom committed crime because truthfully, Amnon ain't do nothing to Absalom. He do something to Tamar. You understand what I'm saying? So you just killed this man over something that didn't really apply to you, for real, for real. You know, especially because Tamar's father isn't doing anything about that. You know what I mean? But David, now he like, bro, I comforted, now I was sad, but now I want my son back, bro. It ain't even no smoke between us. You know what I mean? Because you still is my son at the end of the day. But as I mentioned last episode, bro, you know, you spare the rod, you spoil the child, basically. So if you neglect the discipline, that actually ain't even love. Because if you love somebody, you will help them to be better. You wouldn't allow them to walk down a path of destruction, especially if you could see the destructive nature of this path. You would correct them. You would reprimand them if it means saving their life and helping them to be better off. David's children are continuing to respond violently towards each other. But this time, Amnon's sin could not go unpunished. So he fled from Israel, and now he's considered the banished son. But even when he returns, his relationship with his father, the king, will never be the same. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week.